James Harris, Global Digital Officer at the media buyer Karat. Welcome to Norway.
Thank you. Yeah, very nice to be back.
This year is a watershed in a way as for the advertising industry, as digital for the first time is expecting to outgrow TV. That's a great shift. What's your view about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think some of the stats I had earlier was last year. I think it was the last year where television globally was more than digital, and yeah, absolutely it is. But I think my view on it is, what it doesn't mean is that television or traditional advertising is going away. But what it does point to is that you have to be ready for that shift. You have to be a digitally enabled business. I mean, as a company, we have more revenues come from digital, and they have done for the last 2 or 3 years as an income source. So I think you have to be able to deal with that shift, and therefore if you...
Is it an evidence that what we call performance marketing, targeting is now more demanded from advertisers than brand building, the traditional brand building?
I think on the surface there's a danger you look at it and go, absolutely, it's performance. I mean, the problem with digital is we over-index on measuring it with clicks, with performance. But the reality is a lot of that money is coming from video. It's coming from things like high quality, guaranteed programmatic. So, which is fundamentally about brands and storytelling. And I think we're only really just starting to unlock the opportunity to use digital in those ways. And I think, so we've over-indexed on the performance side. I think the challenge now is, as that shift happens, is to get advertisers to understand the opportunity. If you take search marketing, I think the greatest opportunity in search marketing is actually around what we call culture, not clicks. So the idea of using search as a cultural barometer, a cultural way of finding things is huge, but most people just don't do that. They look at the performance and sales side.
From an advertiser and media buyer perspective, should you guys be concerned? I mean, the digital ad market now is more and more about Google and Facebook. In other words, a duopoly, taking 60% of this big digital market.
Yeah.
Are you worried?
Not at all, actually. I without sounding flippant, I mean, it would be healthy to have more competition, but I think firstly, it's how you work with those guys. So, as I talked about earlier, you have to partner with them in a different way. You can no longer have the hierarchy of they're a media owner, you're a buyer. You have to be very open. You have to work with them in detail. I mean, those guys have such capabilities in things like data that it's an opportunity. So we need to look at it as an opportunity. I think the second thing is we're about, to see the next wave of disruption, which is going to come from the telcos. So I would say one to absolutely watch is the AOL, Verizon guys and some of the other telcos, because if you look, what they've been doing is out buying media companies. You saw recently that Teeds TV was bought by a telco. So the important reason that is going to be disruptive is people like Google and Facebook.
They have AT&T's bid for
absolutely. They depend on their pipes are provided by the telcos. If the telcos now realise they can become media owners as well, it's a wave of disruption. So I would expect to see Google and Facebook disrupted themselves, which I think is fascinating.
And actually,
it totally excites me as an opportunity.
You mentioned programmatic. We read a lot about the fuss between advertisers and the advertising industry in the US, particularly when it comes to transparency and clarity in the digital buying field. What is the relations now? How is the discussions going?
Yeah, I mean, I think programmatic
is it a hostile environment still?
Well, I don't think the industry did itself any favors. I think as is always the case, there was an over focus on technology. There was an over focus on machine-driven, buying, if that makes sense. And I think when you do that, you're always going to create problems, and you're going to have problems with quality. And I think what's interesting is we used to buy digital media in the early days, and by the early days I mean 1998, 99. We used to look at website content and context. We then invented the networks, and then we invented programmatic. And I think we lost sight of the fact that actually it isn't just about buying audiences. It's about buying audiences who are in the right environment and want to talk or listen to you at the time. So I think what we're seeing is a very quick shift back to those core principles, but using programmatic technology to help that storytelling. I mean, certainly we have clients now where we actually don't engage in what you would call real-time bidding. It's entirely about guaranteed models, but we use the technology to help the storytelling. And I think what that's going to do is it's going to help shift the industry to a place where it needs to go. And then when you do that, you don't have problems with viewability, you don't have problems with brand safety. So you're solving for a lot of the current issues, but absolutely, I think it's a victim of itself in the sense that it's gone down the wrong route. And I think too much focus on technology and algorithms is a big problem. As I said in my presentation, the algorithm is going to get you if you just focus on that.
Thank you very much. James Harris from Karat.
Thank you.